Welcome to the Between Two Panels podcast, where Ryan and Sean will discuss the independent comic making process from the writing to the art, finding a printer, crowdfunding, publishers, and comic conventions, and any and all stops in between. Also featuring some of the best and brightest creators on the indie scene today. Mr. Mosley, welcome back to Between Two Panels. How are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well, sir. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Hot.
Good.
It's hot. Got hot all of a sudden.
Yeah, and you're in Colorado too, so how's that even possible?
Yeah, I know. It was like 101 today, so it was crazy. So
that sucks.
So I'm wearing my Ron Swanson Pyramid of Greatness t-shirt. So, you know.
Awesome. Love me some Ron Swanson, my friend.
We love some Ron Swanson.
That's right.
And speaking of greatness, so we got a special guest today. I first met him he was a letterer and a graphic designer, and he's moved into creating his own comic. He operates out of Chicagoland area, and has done lettering and design work for many, many comics. I mean, he has his own webpage, which we'll talk about that too. But there were so many just different titles, and it was one page from each comic, and there were so many there, and it was phenomenal. And it was just great work. He always does great work for us. He's worked on our books before too. I would almost bet that if you're an indie comic fan, a really true indie comic fan, you might even have one of his books on your shelves. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't, that's okay, because he's getting ready to release his own book. It's coming out through Marcosi also. You ever heard of them, Mosley?
I think so, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But it's called Jane Jet, and we will definitely be talking about that. But first, let's bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Amal Desai. Hello, sir. How are you? Hey, thank you for coming on.
For myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. That was an excellent introduction.
Oh, well, you deserve it. So I'm a little jealous right now. So I did read Jane Jet today. We got an advance copy, and it was flawless. It was flawless. I don't even say that about my own stuff. That was flawless. It is phenomenal. I am getting a hard copy when it comes out. It was just front to back. It was perfect. So,
well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I definitely went for perfect on it. And future books, I'm not going to do that because I ate up a lot of time.
I was going to say, how long did it take you guys to do it?
I think it was a little over a year, but each part, and I was like going in and touching up inks and touching up colors on everything, and it was a bit excessive. So I've learned my lesson. I'm going to try not to do that.
Hey, it's always like that with the first one, right? You just want it to be as perfect as it could be, and I really do. I'm not saying that just to be saying that. It was great. I thought it was perfect, flawless. I couldn't find an issue with it. So
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
No, and it was you and I believe Paul Esses.
Yes.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul's the co-creator. He lives in Australia currently. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I didn't check if he wanted to get on this one because it's probably.
Call him up right now. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Yeah. So yeah, he's the artist. He's incredibly talented, and he, all the character designs, everything is all him. And it's tough crediting him because it's hard to explain that he didn't just draw everything. He his design of everything influenced the whole story. Right. And he's like creative director, sort of like over the colors and everything. So many times I sent him the script and he was like, this would be a little better. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. Like, what did you say exactly? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, like me and Ryan are co-creators. That's the way it goes sometimes. Ryan will see me something like, I don't want to use it, but I got to. It's better than mine. So, it happens. And that's how the work gets good, And like I said, I mean, I'm going to keep going on about this through this whole podcast. It's just, I mean, seriously, I read it once. I was like, damn, that was good. And then I went through it kind of trying to nitpick something, and I couldn't find anything. It was great. It was really great. So I'm excited to read it, like I said, to get my paper copy. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you guys did great. And I can't wait. You're still waiting on your release date, I believe. Is that correct? From Marcosi?
Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be end of August, or possibly September. Yeah, but coming up.
That's awesome. I think that's our slate too. So we'll be coming out at the same time. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, nice. Same week.
Yeah.
Bundle them together.
Yeah, I know, right? We'll both be watching the numbers together. So I did see in the credits too on the second page that is this the first time you ever did inks or?
Yeah. So
okay.
For most of the books I design like the credits pages and all that too.
Right.
So
Graphic
randomly
design,
here,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So randomly here and there, I have like inked pencils that
Oh,
somebody's got just to use it. Other than that, it was my first time inking, so it was definitely a learning curve. Takes much longer. So the original deal with Paul was I was gonna I was gonna write it, ink it,
yes.
color it, and letter it. Was my original goal.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my goal. I inked the first page. It took me like 14 hours. Fell behind on all my lettering. Didn't sleep for a week. And I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. So yeah, the inks ended up getting split between a whole bunch of people.
I saw that. Yeah, it's like 2 through 7, and then I was like, that's pretty cool. But it's you can't tell the transitions. You can't tell it from page to page. So that's great that you guys kind of were able to match each other's style and everything. And so you're obviously a very good letterer. You do tons of lettering work that I've seen, flawless lettering too. So was inking, is that something in your future? Is that something you want to do, or is that just for your own project because you wanted to have so much involvement with it? Or
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to learn how to ink just for fun and
okay.
to see if it would be viable. But with the fact that even my last page probably took me 10 hours, it's
Oh my
not
gosh,
something I could do as a to make
not
any.
commercially viable.
Yeah, not commercially viable.
I'm not going to make any money
Yeah,
doing
and
this.
for coloring, I've I've like flatted a page, and that took me like
Okay.
8 hours or something. And I'm also colorblind, so I don't think I'm
Oh
gonna.
my goodness.
I don't think I'm gonna go that route, but yeah, I'm gonna ink, just for fun here and there, maybe some of my own
Okay.
books, and I'm trying to learn how to draw long term. Working on
Really?
slowly,
Okay.
yeah. 10 to
Not
15,
me.
20 years.
Yeah, I'm not.
In the next lifetime, I'll be an artist. So
Maybe.
prepared for that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So let me ask you: do you like lettering or do you love it? I mean, what's your kind of and how did you really? Let's do your origin story first. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Like
I was like, wait,
James Yett
come
in
on,
my
man.
brain, and I can't quit thinking about. I know. Usually we do the origin story first, so let's do
Right.
that. We're gonna do a flashback here. Give us your origin story.
Yeah. So just so I don't go on too long, I'll start in the middle somewhere. So I got really into comics older, actually, at like 25.
Okay.
Like hadn't read a single comic before then, and then got very obsessed for many years. And I've worked in the print industry for a while. I've always done like graphic design stuff just on the side a little bit. So I wanted to work in comics in any way, shape, or form. Didn't think lettering was possible. Picked up Nate's book. Nate Picos has a book. It's called Essential Guide to Comic Lettering. I read it through like just because I was interested, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I was like telling myself all the time, like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do it. Read the entire like textbook, and
Holy
then
cow.
and then a few months later, I met some people at C2E2, and I was like, oh, what if I try lettering your book?
Oh.
And then I went through the whole book again, page by page, like doing it. And then after that, sort of figured out how to differentiate myself from Nate, like, so I'm not just like copying,
Right.
same thing. Yeah. So now I think I look completely different. But yeah, it's basically it. And then the lettering, it worked. I found that like a Facebook group and a Reddit group, and made a couple sample pages, and then people started reaching out, and then reaching out more and more, and it's grown quite a bit. So
So
No doubts.
not till 25. You were 25 years old when you picked up a comic. Nothing before that.
Oh,
yeah.
he's going to dress you down now. He's
Yeah.
like,
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Start so
That's
late and be
No.
so good at lettering.
yeah. No. That's just
Can't do
fascinating
that.
to me. You're so
You
good at
skip
what
some
you do.
steps.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at 25, I got like completely obsessed, like an addict.
Gotcha.
Ah,
Yeah, like before that, I specifically didn't read any because I kind of felt like I would get carried away into it. It was like a weird thing where like I just wouldn't. And then we just went to a comic shop one time, like on a vacation or something. I was like, okay, I'll get one book. But I'm not going to get any more. I read that one, and I was like, okay, I'll finish the series. I didn't even like the series, like it, but it's the medium. And then
right.
and I was like an addict. It was a Star Wars book. That they relaunched
Ah,
Star Wars, and when
So
Disney bought them.
so Dark Horse or you said Disney.
Yeah, it
I
was right when
got
they
you.
started. Yeah.
So Marvel then. No, that's fine. That's fine. I just you if you don't know, Sean and I are both very big Star Wars
Star
fans,
Wars
but
nerds.
it's
So yeah,
yeah,
so
we old
trash talk
school.
Star Wars.
No,
Yeah.
we're more old school. So
Yeah.
Dark Horse, when they had it, the
Yeah.
first run on Marvel, like that stuff is great. But like even you just said, like hey, Marvel, it was a Marvel title. I was like, yeah, they're not as good. So
No, I've wanted to go back and read the Dark Horse books. I just haven't yet.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the
yeah,
Marvel, the Star Wars, like the actual title one, that one was really
yeah.
good off the
Yeah.
when at the onset, and then everything else was bad, at least according to me.
Well,
Hey, no, that's fine.
The only one that I've really like honed in on was the run of Vader. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Vader was good. So
Yeah.
Yep.
got to give them props when they earn it, but then you got to bust their chops the rest of the time, right?
When they don't, that's exactly right. So
That's right. Sorry.
So when you first started getting into comic books, right? Was lettering something that jumped out at you, or just like you said, it was the whole medium, the whole concept of a comic book?
Yeah, so I mean, it was like the medium, because it's so
Okay.
weird that most people don't come into contact with the medium of comic books. It's a whole
That late,
medium.
yeah.
Yeah, so it just yeah, I just loved it. Like watching TV and movies, I'm like pausing all the time. I need to like control the pace. And then
Oh
like
wow.
reading like novels, I just like get sleepy. So I need something in between, and it just and all the artwork, like there's no other medium where you're taking in people's artwork like constantly like that.
Right. Like every panel's an art piece, you right? So yeah.
Well, our culture, we blew up all these comic book, like all these mainstream book titles become movies and everything like that. But Sean and I, we've been around for such a long time. Like we remember a lot of this stuff when it wasn't very cool, and just hearing somebody that got into it, as a little bit older, that that's just awesome to me, because like we're really passionate about comics in general. So just you saying like, hey, it really kind of threaded the needle between novel and movie. Like that's the sweet spot for us too. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I love comics. Like that's all I care about at this point. Yeah, it's a problem, but
No, that's a great problem though, and you made a great point. So you're talking about how kind of in between a novel and a movie, right? I think letters are really kind of the unsung heroes of a comic book. Heroes or heroines, whichever. Women do it too, So. But because here's the thing, I've noticed that when I read a really good book, a really good comic book, I don't even realize that I'm reading the lettering. You know what I mean? I'm already kind of seeing it in that character's, pace, dialect, all that. And if it's written well, if the syntax is good, which yours is always good, no misspellings, nothing like that. It's just perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It keeps you in the story. And I don't even feel like I'm reading it. I feel like I'm listening to the character. So yeah, I don't think letters get quite as much due as they should for that.
I agree, of course. But yeah, it's sort of like it either brings the book down or brings it up, from
100%.
where it is. Because you could absolutely destroy a book with bad lettering.
Oh yeah.
But you can't take like a bad book and make it amazing. You can make it look like it might be professional, but
right.
Yeah, so you kind of don't notice it. The goal is for it to like blend right into it, and you do a decent amount of the storytelling, like more than you realize.
Yes.
Based on like I even like as I'm reading a page, I take into account, is the person saying what they're saying before they look like the panel or after? Like if it's before, then I'm going to put the dialogue on the left, so you read it and then they look like that, or they look like that and then they say the thing. So take into account a lot of different things like that. But yes, I of course think it's super important.
No,
the most important.
It is. I mean, well, yeah, I would say that, like I said, because it's the meeting between the art, the inking, and because the inking, well, coloring is the last thing, but some people color after the lettering. But so let's just say inking and script, and you've got to take those and make them mesh. And it's just, yeah, it's an art form. So that's a before I get talking too much about it, I'm just going to say it is an art form that is not as much appreciated as it should.
Well, I think, Sean, you're onto something, because if you don't notice it, like that's the calling card of a great letterer, right?
Yes, 100%.
And So if it's not bringing the book down, if you're not really even noticing it, like that means that they're great. That's what they're doing.
If you're getting confused, oftentimes it's not the writer at all or the artist, it's the letterer.
Right.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. Yep. A letter can cover a lot of flaws, and like I said, by placement of balloons and different things, but not everything. It's a bad production from beginning to end. But so as an example, so recently you sent, I think it was issue 9, right? It was that one panel. He was like screaming, and you're like, I didn't even notice it, right? When I got the art back and sent it on to Amal, he's like, so is this a silent scream or should this guy be screaming? Like, he should be screaming. Good catch. So that's awesome. So it is an art form. So very impressed with what you do, sir. And so just ballpark figure, how many comics do you think you've done at this point in your career? Oh, I got him mapping now.
Yeah.
He's like,
I don't know.
A lot.
Probably like 100.
That's awesome.
I would think.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I did the math at some point, and I had done like 1,500 pages, but that was like a year and something ago. So I think probably 100 books.
That's awesome. That is great. So when did you first start feeling really comfortable doing it? I mean, was there ever a time where you thought, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought I was really good right away, but I don't think I wasn't, like looking back at it, I have regrets, but yeah, I think that just the fact that I spend the amount of time I spend on it, it's a lot of letters. I think it's just to kind of get it done and make the buck, which it has to be if that's your living, and I totally get it. But just the fact that I spend a decent amount of time on everything, and I'm constantly like putting all my energy into it, I think sort of does put me at a decent level.
And I would agree with that. And obviously you're kind of invested in your craft. Well, I guess anything you do, like you said, if you spent 8 hours just on one page of inking, because it's like, I'm going to do it. I had to give up after like 2 hours. I'm like, man, I can't. I get to that obsessive point and I got to give it up because I'm not. Yeah. But it definitely shows in your work. You're very thorough. You know what you're doing. Like you said, you pay attention from panel to panel. We were talking about this with some artists on another podcast that, a really good artist will be able to, and a storyteller really will be able to know when to turn the page and, what panel should lead to the next panel, that kind of thing. And it's the same thing with the letter, putting it where it belongs, not blocking the important part of the panel, that kind of thing. So you're very good at that, sir. I will give you that, even though I'm still jealous about things yet. So,
well, I'll tell you, first of all, one of the things that I feel fortunate about is that we were able to find you, and bring you on to the Immortalis journey, right? Like that's one of the reasons we really wanted to talk to you. You're one of our first guests, actually, to be honest. And we feel like much of the success of the book, I mean, obviously there's so many other things, but just the talent level that we were able to recruit onto the book, like it really has set us apart, and we feel very, very fortunate to be where we're at right now. And we just kind of want to recognize, that you're a big part of that. Your contribution to Immortalis has made us as successful as we are right now,
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I'm really happy being on Immortalis. I love Immortalis. I don't like to rank the books I work on, but it's always fun, like I actually care about what's happening. And the world you guys have built, like it's like nothing I've seen in indie comics or outside.
That could go either way. It's
and
want to see again.
No, it's like really it's an expansive, like huge universe, and then you kind of just jump into really interesting parts. And and every issue's fun.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That's
comics. They're it's fun, fast paced. There's always something interesting happening. So I love lettering the books. I want to know what happens. So
that's the best thing we could hear, because one of my questions I was going to ask you was, how much do you hate it? I know it's going to seem funny after this. He's been so nice to us, but how much do you hate it when after you letter something, somebody comes up to you? So what did you think of the story?
I don't.
That can be like a loaded question sometimes, right?
So I've kind of made like a rule that I don't comment. Just so that, And also like for posting on social media and stuff, like I try not to go too much on a single book or whatever, just because then other people will be saying something. But there's only one instance where somebody's asked me about the book.
Yeah.
And where I had to like, where I had to really hold back. I think I might have like not even replied to the email, honestly.
I really like the collars.
I really like the letter.
We're such bad people.
But that's only one book I've worked on. So
that's good. Yeah. That's good that you're getting interesting products. And I think there's a lot to be said. We talked about this quite a bit, that it's kind of good with Kickstarter and the way it is now, that anybody who has an idea can get it out there, which is a wonderful thing. But also, I think people will want to jump the gun and get it out there way sooner than it's ready. It's a double-edged sword, because yes, you have more opportunities than you ever had in the past. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all that. But I don't think people sharpen their stuff as much as they used to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Because if you're aiming for publishing, always you kind of have to like really go top tier. And yeah, that is definitely true. But it does seem like the better books tend to be more successful on Kickstarter. So there's that. But yeah.
When we started this whole journey, right, like we had no idea about any of this stuff. Like John had published a comic book a while back, and when I came to him with this idea, like he liked it, and then we're like, well, what do we do with it now? And so we started researching Kickstarter and things like that. It took us a long time to find an artist and then understanding like all the rest of the stuff. And so the cool part about being on Kickstarter is just the community that kind of has sprung up around it. Like we've been able to be in that community a little bit and find some talent, like some real talent that I don't think there would have been no other way for us to find it,
Yeah.
And so like that's one of the big positives that we found. We were fortunate when issues 1 and 2 came out. We got a Projects That We Love badge. Like had no idea what that was, right? Like, but it was a big deal. So
yeah,
and so it's such a great like just community and just being able to find other people that dig comics like we do, and that's just been the best part. Sean and I, we don't have any real expectations of where Immortalis is going to go, right? Right? And we feel really fortunate, and then like building these relationships, especially with like somebody like you that is super talented. That means in the future when we have a project, it will be easier for us to recruit other, talented people like yourself. And that's something that just has been such a blessing for us. But also something I think about is like, man, there's so much talent that's on Kickstarter, but man, like there's nobody like that's really like stepping out. Like it just
there's a few, you got Saga and some other things. There's some really top tier work that I think they've been able, because they found instant success. And there's a whole other thing with, part of the comic business now, half of it is creating something that people like, and the other half is the marketing side of it. And that's a whole different animal, with all the socials and everything right now, all that kind of thing. So I think and I told Ryan this one day, I was like, I think when we put our thing on Kickstarter, there were probably, and I think at the time there were like 150 different comics on there. I said 75 of them are probably better than ours, in my opinion. I just think that because they're not going to market it well, or some things. Like I got this one, it was called Jake Sunrise. Loved the book, and it's like drip marketing. They're only getting an issue out, a 22-page issue out every 6 months. I'm like, it's hard to build a fan base like that. It's just, and it's like an uphill slog. So I don't know.
Yeah, you guys started with that. Yeah, you started with that when you first emailed me with your plan of how many books you're going to release, and I was like, "These are huge plans." I don't know, but you did it. I mean, they just keep coming out, and that's amazing. And that's why I think I posted about that on Instagram or something like that. Hitting double digits is pretty incredible. I
know, and it's been, and it's just flabbergasting to me, because I mean, we put a plan together and we had a plan, but if I'd have known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done anything different. But if I'd got to this point and realize what all we had to go through to get all those out, and just, it's like, oh my gosh. We
Don't do it. Go back in time.
No, don't do it. Slow down. It's not a marathon. Take your time. But no, it's just, but we got very lucky. Finding Marcosia through you. Actually, that's another thing I want to talk about. You were the one who first put us in contact with Harry and Marcosia and the team out there. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Because that's worked out really well for us. So
I mean, Immortalis is awesome. I'm just like, how do we get more people to understand?
Right. Sure. And again, it comes to that glut again. Like I said, everybody's putting out their books, whether they're ready or not. And it's just you're trying to cut a piece of that pie out for yourself. And it's hard when there's so much out there. And there's people that might have worse books, but are better at marketing. There might be people who have better books that are worse at marketing, and it's just it can be a slog sometimes. So,
well, Amal, I don't know if you know this, like, Sean and I put in a lot of like pre-work before we even started putting pen to paper. I guess we wrote out so much, and I don't want to like rehash this for the tens of people that are listening, right? Like, but we put in the work ahead of time, so you see all these stories as they come out, like it's this feat, but like we probably, I don't know, Sean, a couple years worth of story. And that's really where it comes from, right? Like, it's not. I mean, Sean's incredibly gifted storyteller. Don't get me wrong, but we also we didn't want to put out a subpar product. So the thing that we know about comics is the in-depthness of stories. Like, that's what we wanted to do. And the fact is we didn't want to do like a monster of the week type of thing and that kind of stuff. So that led us to be like, oh, well, we feel like this is a story arc of 5 to 7 years. And people cringe at that or see that as some kind of like unattainable like goal, but we see it as a very realistic thing,
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it. And you can feel it when you're reading it, that it's like, that's full, it's a complete thing. So, and I remember I was, Sean would be like emailing me script for issue 15 or something while I'm lettering the first issue. So yeah, I believe it. I was like, okay, well, this is new. Usually I'm like waiting for the script to be finished.
Right. And then they get it to you. Hey, Amal, I need this back in 24 hours. Can you get?
Yeah. But yeah, you can definitely feel the scale and the scope of it. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing else like that. That's pre-planned like that to that amount. I know a lot of people have that plan, like, I'm going to create a huge universe or whatever, but it's not going to happen. Like, they're not doing it. They're not making a book.
Yeah.
So
and that's part of it, right? I mean, like, we put like 18 months of planning into it before we hired the first artist. So yeah. And that's what I say. And that's why I if you got it and you got to put it out there, you think you got to do it now, more power to you. I hope you win. I hope you do it. Not you in general. I'm talking about in general. Yeah. I hope they do it if that's what they want to do. But I would also, if they would listen to me, I would tell them, don't rush it. Take your time. If you want to build a universe, it's going to take time. It's not like a single character book, or it's not Spider-Man. Spider-Man eventually became a universe. It didn't start that way. You know what I mean? I would almost kick my own ass though. Now looking back, thinking we started to build a universe, like 3 years ago. And I'm like, trying to do 12 issues a year. It's a slog, man. It's so. But let's get back to you. Let's talk about you. I got Jane Jet stuck in my head. Is there a plan for, what's your plan for this? I think the first issue was 55, 60 pages.
Yeah, so it's 50 pages of story and like 20-ish of bonus material.
Pin-ups and some sketches. Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I went through that too, man. I was just like, great art. So
yeah,
very good stuff.
So my strategy is like the exact opposite of yours. So because I was, just starting with one character. But literally like the first 5 pages is what came into my mind. Wrote that out, and I was like, okay, we're gonna make these 6 or whatever, 7, 8 pages, whatever it was. We'll send pitches, and then we'll if it gets picked up. So then I'm like, oh, to send pitches, I do need to think of a whole story though.
Right.
So then
they're gonna want a synopsis, damn it.
Yeah. So then start doing all that. Sent the pitches out. Marcosia, I think I found way later. so I'm really happy, Harry signed us on, and then from there, like the story I had plotted just completely changed.
Really?
Yeah. So Marcosi wanted, they only do like graphic novels or
Printed.
book
Yep.
collections. Yeah. So
Yes.
we didn't want to do, well, we didn't have the funds to do, because like some of the team is paid.
Right.
So yeah, so we didn't have the funds or the time, and also Paul, like, just drawing the pages, that's an insane request to do. Asking him to do like 6 issues or something would be crazy. So
I need 50 pages now, not 8.
yeah. So basically, I wanted to do, if this is the only book we ever get to do, I wanted it to be a full story. So I wanted it to be, I didn't want to just do the first 2 issues that I had thought of and put them together, because it would have been like unsatisfying ending,
Right.
So I want it to be a full story. If nothing else ever gets made, then, we're happy with this. It's worth reading. It's a complete story. It's
And it is. Yes.
So that's kind of how I rethought of everything. And then Paul was like, "We don't have a bad guy," and I was like, "That's like the point. Like, nobody is the bad guy. Like, everybody's everybody is doing what they need to do, and what's everybody. There's nobody that's like obviously bad." But then he wanted to do a bad guy, and I was like, then he told me about Project Paperclip, which I'd never heard of.
Right.
Which is the Nazis coming back after World War II, and I was like, okay,
Yep.
that's interesting. So then we got like some real bad guys, just mustache twirling bad guys.
You need a bad guy, grab the Nazis.
Yeah. So then it was like the goal was to do it all in 44 pages, because that's Harry said that's
Harry's minimum.
The minimum they'll print.
Yeah.
So it's like 44 pages, and then I needed to go to 50, and I was like, sorry, Paul. But yeah, I mean, we made it work, and yeah, so we're just like, that's my the way I work with writing is like the opposite. Like, I just kind of, I have an idea, write a bit, and then come up with outline, write some more, scratch that whole outline, re-outline, write like 10 more pages, scratch the outline, write the new outline, and then and then we get there.
Well, it turned out great. I mean, and it is a self-contained story, but it left me wanting more. It's it's very, like you said, it's very fulfilling. If someone bought the one book, they would love it. You know what I mean? They would love it. It's a self-contained story, but you can see with the ending, I'm afraid of giving too much away. Let's just, I'm not going to give too much away. So, but the ending,
there's a tag or whatever, a cliffhanger.
Right, the cliffhanger. Yeah, with someone. I'm just going to say someone coming through a wall. Yeah. And I was like, yes, there's going to be a second one. This is obviously, they can't leave it like this, even though it's a very good ending. But yeah, it's definitely very good. I mean, you're right. You cut it so that it can be self-contained, but it'll leave people wanting more for the next graphic novel. So
yeah, and the goal is, sort of like accidentally made a little universe.
Right.
Yeah. So, if it's successful, then absolutely we'll be continuing for as long as we're able.
That's awesome.
Because I have, it could just keep going. This, and also it takes place in 1955. Like, just keep going forward in time. And there's a lot of different characters in there. Fist of Peace, like, as ended up being a really cool character that I would definitely do a book for.
Right. And that's the thing too. And I was like, I thought about that too. The second reread, I was like, why didn't I almost give these introducing characters like their splash pages? I was like, that looks so great. And it was really well done. So yeah,
thank you.
Good job on that. Made me jealous.
Thank you, much appreciated.
So do you have any other ideas kind of in there percolating, or is your title
Jane Jett going to kind of consume you for the next couple of years?
Yeah. So I want to make sure I can afford the next one, because it's so long, So yeah. So if I have a number in my mind, if the first one can make that much, then I can make a second one.
Nice.
Or Paul and I can make a second one. So, and I haven't mentioned Juliana yet. Juliana is the colorist, Juliana Lamalfa.
Yes.
She's in Italy, but she's incredible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think that she sets the whole tone for the book. Really, really influenced it a lot. Especially with how I write, and like seeing the colors and the art, and then completely changing everything. Yeah. So Yeah, so she was a huge help, and then there were like 100 inkers. Kashawn
Right.
Hayden did like a handful of pages. Jimmy Stewart did a bunch of pages. YKO, I don't know if she says, I think she just goes by YKO. I think she was probably the best inker, honestly. She only did a few pages, but I found her in the end. She was really, really great. Yeah. So, but yeah, I have a lot of ideas in mind, definitely. And there's also, the original thing that I had plotted that didn't happen in this book. That can also, all that can happen. Yeah. I'm just trying not to like consume I get really obsessed when I start thinking about the story. So I'm just like trying not to go too deep yet.
Right.
So I know what I'll do for like the first 10, 15 pages of the next one, if it happens, and then we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think it's going to happen because it's a phenomenal creation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I seriously, I don't say this unless I mean it. It was flawless. Tip to tail, it was perfect. So yeah, can't wait to read it again for the third time.
Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, so the goal is, hopefully we'll start on the second one in a few months.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to that. So I got to ask you. So so especially with lettering, what do you think is one thing that people who come to you from the business side of it that seem to get wrong with lettering? Do you think? Because I was talking to an artist and he was telling me that a guy got really mad at him because he changed some things in the book. And the guy's like, they're not going to know I wrote it. And he's like having to tell the guy, you wrote the book. I mean, your name is going to be written by, just because the art doesn't match exactly how you wanted it, they're not going to not know that you wrote the book. So, is there anything you feel like that with lettering? Is anybody on the business side kind of got a little messed up with the lettering or thought you were doing something wrong or anything, or have one of those tough customers?
No, that hasn't happened too much, thankfully. It's just what I do think would be great if more people did was, because after writing the script, the artist will draw it and they'll definitely make adjustments as needed. So you should go through, look at the artwork and adjust your script, because the script and also it'll make the book a lot better, if you make it match what it actually looks like. So it's called like a lettering script. So if people do that, that's a huge help. Kind of get everything right. And then also, I don't like having to choose when stuff is bold italics.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll do it if there's nothing indicating there. I'll do it. I don't I don't mind. But if the writer could do it, then that because it does affect how it's read a little bit. So
okay.
Yeah, if you just like bold the script. I just realized that I choose where to bold italic for everyone else.
I was gonna say I never bold it, but I like capitalize all words.
Yeah. That's what you do. That's right. Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Okay. I will start bolding it going forward.
Sorry.
No, that's a great idea.
Live feedback.
I never even thought about that.
No, it's just useful because I don't mind doing it, but I don't want to take that from the writer,
Right. Again, it comes back like that artist was saying, the writer thought, oh, you're stepping on me or trying. Yeah, you can't think like that. I mean, I couldn't even tell if you did a change to anything we sent you because I sit down and I just read it with open eyes and it's always good. So I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's great. You did it. It's perfect. I don't even go back and look at the script I sent you. As long as it makes sense, it's coherent. I don't because I know you know what you're doing. So
yeah, I so basically I fix typos without asking. Yeah,
right.
Fix a bunch of typos and then not for you actually.
He's like, I'm looking at you, Sean.
No, I mean I'll do that generally for anybody. And I'll split up speech balloons. So if it's like super long, I'll just go ahead and split it up. And sometimes I'll drop them to the panel before or the panel after. So that's stuff I do freely, and thankfully nobody's ever had an issue with that.
Yeah, me and Ryan have talked about this, and that's one thing. You're always going to look back at your work later and see, man, I wish I'd done this different. I wish I'd done that a little bit different. You know what I mean? I'm still going to be proud of it, but I was like, man, I was so preaching, talking so much. There was so much dialogue in those first 4 or 5 issues I wrote. I was like, oh god,
I don't think so. I think they read really, because that is usually the issue that they're overwritten. But I didn't catch that with Immortalis as much.
Well, I appreciate that because that's one thing I was like, I don't know, man, am I talking too much? Are these characters talking too much? Because it is a comic, it is a visual medium, but I appreciate that because that's one thing I always go back and wonder, should I have toned it down a bit, kind of thing. So
yeah, I think I went the opposite with change. My goal was to do as few words and panels as possible. And to tell the story, and I thought that was a good idea, but then like I was like, it just feels kind of like silent. So yeah, so I added quite a bit to it. That whole last fight scene, I had the like 5-page fight scene. It was just quiet originally because I was like,
really,
I was like,
no
yeah, that's
dialogue
cool.
at all.
Yeah, no dialogue, and then you know, it adds a lot to put a little bit in there.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's awesome.
Mhm.
No, did the art kind of influence that, or were you just like looking at it when you got yeah, you're like, yeah, we need to be
yeah. So for those,
here.
thankfully, Paul, he choreographed the whole thing. So for that whole fight scene, I was like, for 2.5 pages, they fight, and like this is the beginning, and then these are the things that need to happen during it. Like, you know, like she loses this and he gets this, and this is where they end up. And so like a list of things that have to happen, and then he kind of choreographed the whole thing and came up with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah. And I mean, he was in the Army. Like I've fought someone in the 4th grade, I think. So that's as far as my experience goes. So it makes sense.
My combat skills ended in the 4th grade.
It makes sense for him to be choreographing this.
Right. That's awesome. So do you have so is this kind of comics in generally, or just PopCon, or even writers, anything, artists, anything? Do you have there was one creator you could meet, who would it be? Who do you think it would be?
Oh, that's
throwing you the hard fastballs now. Now the interview gets tough.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, because of cons, I've met, you know, a decent amount. Like I met Terry Moore. I don't know if you guys are fans of Terry.
Oh yeah.
And he was the nicest person. And so currently I've been obsessed with Ram V, I should say, actually. Yeah, he's he's written a little bit of Batman, but mainly he's got a few of his own titles that are just really good. I just got on him, so those are huge. So right now I guess him, but changes week to week.
Right.
Yeah, finally got on the James Tynion train and started reading his books. And he's got really good books too, but yeah, I'd go with that.
So you're still reading comics, right? Still a fan of the medium, right? Even though you're now working in the medium. Is there a mistake you see maybe beginning letters make that you kind of catch right away, or anything? Or I know the uppercase I thing, and
yeah, get me started. So there's a lot of stuff. So definitely the uppercase I.
Right.
There should be no crossbars in the middle of words.
Right.
Crossbars for like the pronoun I. So that's one thing, but also like cutting across panel borders is a huge issue. I notice just like slapping the balloon on top of borders. Yeah, it just makes it look amateur. Is the
sloppy? Yep.
Yeah. And then left to right readability, like that's the huge thing. You're telling the story, so left to right, top down, like
top to bottom. Yep.
Yeah, left to right, top to bottom. So if you're not doing that, then you're not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Jumping all around, the eyes don't follow the page, and 100%. So do you have you ever had anybody? I know I don't, because I know you know what you're doing. I realize that right away. But have you had anybody come to you about they don't like the font style, or they don't like the balloon? The only thing we ever did was with I think it was issue 8 and 9. We just decided to go with no balloons, just the But have you ever had anybody that didn't like the way you were doing that, or anything, or?
Just slightly. So I'd say early on. Actually, I think the first book I did. They had some issues with stuff, and I was real overly confident, so I was like, no, this is how it's supposed to be. But they had some good.
You don't throw a fit.
Looking back at it, they did make some good points. So, and I did end up making those adjustments, and it was fine. I'm currently lettering actually issue 3 of that book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, nothing major.
So how do you kind of decide that? Is it just after you go through the pages, you kind of decide what fits with it thematically, kind of with the letter font style and the kind of the balloon?
Yeah. So what I do is I flip through all the artwork, look at the first few pages of the script, try to get like an idea of what the feel is. And then I usually grab a page where there's going to be a decent amount of dialogue and there's a lot of like line work. I grab that and then I, pick a font, make sure it matches like the line of the artist. And like just the feel and the energy of the story. And then for the balloons, I actually make the balloon borders out of the artwork. I don't know if anybody else does that, so I don't know if I'm giving away my like big secret here, but
your secret technique.
Yeah. So I actually I take the artwork and I make like a illustrator stroke out of it. And once I have the base there, then I just kind of adjust as whatever new thing comes up. I create a new style for that, make sure it matches everything, and keep going with that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
because a lot of people, and I really don't know how, I know the kind of the order of who gets it, when and what, but I have no idea how you decide, what fits, what looks good. You know what I mean? That's pretty interesting to me. So
yeah, and the fonts are the tricky part for sure. You just kind of have to like look at what feels right. Originally I just went with like whatever Nate Picos had as his favorite font, and I was like, he says it works on a lot of different artworks. I was like, I'll go with that. So that's what I did originally for a bit, and then I branched out quite a lot. Spent way too much money on fonts.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's what a lot of people don't understand because everything's, well, I assume everything's done on the computer now, right? As opposed used to be freehand, to fill it in on the big pages of that were panels back in the day. But I suppose like letters, you can buy all your own different fonts and things like that, correct?
Yeah, so I've made a couple of my own fonts, and I probably will in the future. It's a lot of work though. A lot of time more so. So I bought a bunch of fonts. Probably with the project, if it's like I don't have the right font, then I go purchase it. And I do hand letter sound effects depending on the book. Yeah, so usually the digital versions look better for me, like with my skill at doing it by hand. I have this thing so I can draw.
Yeah.
So I do draw, like for Jane, I drew all the sound effects.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then but yeah, other than that, everything is fonts. I usually modify the fonts a bit, even the ones I buy, just so it's a little unique. And
that's cool.
But yeah, I do want a hand letter at some point. I just bought like the Ames guide, which is the thing you need to get the spacing right.
Oh my gosh.
I have some ink pens, so at some point I want to get into it a little more.
That's awesome. So no plans, lettering, you're going to be lettering now till your comic days are over, huh?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, at least my own books.
Well, no.
So what would be a good piece of advice you can give to like a new creator? What would be the one thing you wish you would have known when you first started?
Yeah. So, to a new letter or
sure.
Yeah. Well, I would say read Nate's book.
There you go.
A letter. You can't do it without reading that.
Sure.
And then I don't know. For someone who's not a letterer, I would say hire a letterer. A lot of people try to do it themselves and then hire me. And it's like you spend so much time though.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought about it for like 2 hours. I was like, I wonder if I should learn to letter on my own. I was like, no.
Yeah, that was a quick conversation.
That was a quick conversation with myself. I'm like, no. Maul does it so well, and I used to, and this is what a lot of people don't think about either. Is you don't just think about, well, I'd save this much money if I did it myself. Then you got to start thinking, okay, so Amal does these books, right? And then you got to start thinking, how much time does it take me to get to his level? So I'm like, if I got 17 years, I might be able to catch him, if he just stops right now. But I'm like, yeah, no. You start doing the cost analysis of that. I was like, no, he's well worth the money to do that because
absolutely,
there's no way I can catch up to that. So
yeah, it's not worth it for anyone to do it themselves. We got the software, not trying to get myself more work, but you need a software, fonts, learn how to do it, and you could get decent in so I learned how to do it in like a month. decent of
Yeah.
like every hour that I wasn't at my day job. But I wasn't good, like it took a while to get good. So
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're talking about not just you're talking about the tools of it, which everybody needs the tools of it, but there's also the time commitment that you put into it to get yourself to where you are now. You know what I mean? So it's yeah. I would say unless you really love doing it, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? Because yeah.
Yeah, and I tell writers who do it and they come to me for lettering, I'm like, I could help you get good if you want to just learn, and I can like charge you something for that. But no one has taken me up on it so far.
Yeah.
One day maybe.
Maybe. I mean, you never know. You'll be teaching a class soon on lettering, so that'd be pretty awesome. So you said cons. Do you try and do C2, E2 every year? Because I think that's close to where you are, correct?
Yeah, so I've actually never done a con as like a artist alley table or in any way. Yeah, so this will actually be my first year. I'm gonna do a small one by me called DuPage Comic Con or Mighty Con. I'm not really sure what it's called, honestly, because it has both names when you look it up. So yeah, that's in September. So that's gonna be the first one that I'm tabling at.
Cool.
And then I'm thinking about doing C2E2 next year, but
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Are you guys gonna be there? Maybe.
No.
As fans, maybe.
As fans, maybe. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, we saw those table prizes and we're like, yeah, no.
That's why I'm not sure. And they have, they have big names there, and they kind of tend to pull all the people.
Right.
Seems like so.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, we did the biggest one we've ever done. We did Fan Expo, Denver Fan Expo here, and yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, and I don't know how I've never been there, so I'm just speaking from experience. It seems like at the bigger shows like that, everybody's trying to go see something, so they don't really have time for the little creators and the unknown indie guys and stuff. So yeah, it definitely start small. That's what we did with smaller shows and stuff, and yeah, it's a lot more fun. It seems to be a lot less people just rushing by you to get to something. They'll stop. They'll talk to you. I think you'll really enjoy it. So,
yep. Yeah. Agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have questions too. I'm gonna reach out to you just for advice.
Reach out for sure, 100%. Always.
Something I was thinking right now, and then I was like, oh, we're recording a thing.
Hey, ask whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So,
yeah. Well, I was thinking, do you accept like credit cards? Do you do that?
Yes.
So we do. We just got a little Square reader. Got that in the mail to do that with. Really, I've found lately been having a lot more success because, like at Denver Fan X and some of the other ones, the Wi-Fi is terrible in those places because depending on if there's a large crowd, there's like 30,000 people trying to jump on that network from that tower and get it. So a lot easier because the Square, I guess, has to go through a server and all that. But download Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Just have those on your phones because they have the little QR codes. You can someone else can look at it with their phone, and that links them automatically. And then so that's the way to go. But yeah, we do take credit cards. But yeah.
Do you think it's worth it? The credit cards? Do you think people really prefer it?
It's hit and miss, really. It depends on the show. Like Albuquerque, that's a good show you need to try. I'm not sure how far Chicago is from Albuquerque, but
it's quite a ways, man.
Is it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with where cities are.
I don't know geography either. So thankfully we have someone who can answer that.
Yeah. It was a great show, and it has a low table fee. They have big stars, like they had Christopher Lloyd, they had some of the people from the X-Files, they had Jared Padalecki from Supernatural.
Yeah,
a lot of big stars there, and they draw great, and it's really, but it's a low-key crowd. Everybody will stop and talk to you if you strike up a conversation with them. But there, it was mostly either cash or, like I said, one of those Cash App, Venmo, that kind of thing. Whereas, let me think. Trying to think of what's another one we did really good at.
Hey, real quick, I got to drop off, guys.
Okay.
Amal, thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate it. So, but I'll let Sean close this out. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was fun. Nice meeting you.
All right, see you, Ryan.
Nice meeting you. See ya.
So yeah, but and you said what's the name of the one you're going to be at? The con?
DuPage Comic Con.
DuPage Comic Con. Is that up around the Chicago area? Or?
That's the county by me, DuPage County.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay. Yeah, you never can tell. I went to a buddy of mine recommended it. It was called the Mesa County Comic-Con, and it was put on by a library. And they did it to do their library, to get people to sign up for library cards. So you could either pay $5 at the door or just get a library card and you got in for free. They must have drew like 7,000 people in the one-day con they had. It was phenomenal. So you just never can tell. It's just,
Yeah, Paul was saying he's been doing the farmer's market by him in Australia.
Really? In Australia?
Yeah, and it's doing well. And I'm like, but are there comic people? And he's like, well, grandparents buy art for their grandkids.
That's awesome. Yeah, you need to fly down to Australia now. Now you got to do that trip, right?
Yeah, just to go to the farmer's market.
Just to go to the farmer's market. To set up a booth and sell Jane Jet.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. So where can they find you at, sir? Where are they going to reach out?
So on Instagram, I'm Comics by Amal Desai, AMALDESAI. That's really the only place right now. And Jane Jet cannot be ordered yet, unfortunately, but very soon. And if anybody wants to find me for lettering, I think if you just search my name, Google my name and lettering, like my portfolio and all that stuff will come up.
Yep. Very good. And Marcosio is where you will be able to find Jane Jet when it does come out, hopefully. And we said around August, yes?
Yeah, late August, September. Yep.
Be looking for that for sure. I know I will. So, Amal, any last words of wisdom for any future letters or comic creators out there?
I don't think I have any wise words. It was just it was fun being on this podcast. I'd say work with Sean and Ryan and talk to them. That's my advice. And yeah, it was a good time. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for being on. We appreciate it, Amal. And we'll see you next time on Between Two Panels. To learn more about Between Two Panels, M&L Comics, or the Immortalis Comics series, go to mnlcomics.com or check out M&L Comics or TAM Immortalis on Facebook. Between Two Panels is a proud member of the Comic Zone podcast family.